to make someone miss you deeply, especially a man, you must stand a profound truth hope. People don't miss what is constantly available. They miss what leaves a meaningful emotional imprint and then becomes scarce, not in a manipulative way, but through graceful withdrawal. The first step is creating emotional presence through your absence. This means when you're with someone, show up fully, engage, listen, express, running through the park, and leave a piece of your essence in the moment, your energy, your laughter, your poise, your silence, your strength. These become memories he carries, and when you withdraw, not out of resentment or strategy, but from a place of inner fullness, he feels that absence on a deeper level. Absence without emotional presence is forgotten, but presence that's rich, authentic, and powerful, followed by absence, becomes unforgettable. It's not about disappearing to make someone chase you. It's ego-driven and short-lived. It's about understanding the law of energetic impact. The more you fill yourself with value, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, the more that value is felt by others, even when you're not around. When you become a woman who lives with intention and awareness, who leaves others better, clearer, and inspired after interactions, your absence won't be empty. It will echo. It's important to release the urge to overgive, over-communicate, and overexpose yourself emotionally. Instead, be mindful. The most impactful people in our lives are those who brought depth in their presence and quiet in their departure. Create that rhythm. Don't always be the first to reach out. Don't feel the need to always explain yourself. Trust your silence. Trust the energy you've already given. Men are wired to feel lost before they realize love through the park. When you step back after offering genuine connection, it gives space for realization. Presence isn't just physical. It's emotional. It's energetic. Your smile, your softness, your mystery, these are not things to be scattered freely. They are gifts through the park. And when those gifts are no longer given regularly, they become treasures to the one who once received them. That's how longing is born, not from emptiness, but from remembrance. So if you wish to be missed, then leave behind more than words. Leave behind energy. And let that energy speak in your absence. When a woman becomes emotionally intelligent and energetically aware, she doesn't chase validation. She doesn't prove her worth. She knows she has already left a mark. And if it's truly meant to be felt, it will be missed in the quiet hours, in the unseen moments, in the spaces where your presence lit the room. Is how you make a man miss you. Not by running after him, but by standing so firmly in your essence that he cannot forget what he felt in your presence. Embodying things, self-mastery and emotional intelligence is one of the most powerful ways to make a man miss you. It is not about playing games or manipulating someone's emotions. About mastering your inner world to such a degree that your energy commands respect, attention, and memory. When a woman knows how to regulate her emotions, she becomes incredibly attractive, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. Men are drawn to women who remain composed, centered, and grounded, especially in situations where others might become reactive or desperate. Running the park. Emotional self-control doesn't mean being cold. It means being aware of your feelings without letting those feelings control your behavior. Running through the park. It means choosing your response from a place of wisdom rather than insecurity. A woman who can feel deeply but still act from inner calm is unforgettable. She becomes a rare presence in a world full of emotional noise. Her ability to remain steady, even when she's tempted to overreach, text again, or seek reassurance through the park, creates a mystery that lingers in a man's mind. When you operate from emotional intelligence, you no longer need to force connection. You understand timing, space, and balance. You become skilled in giving without losing yourself and receiving without becoming dependent. This level of self-possession creates an emotional imprint. When a man interacts with a woman who doesn't rush, doesn't beg, running the park, doesn't fear silence, he feels that strength, and when she's not around, he begins to crave that energy again. Self-mastery also involves your habits, your focus, and your growth. Are you someone who constantly checks your phone hoping for his message through the park? Or are you someone so deeply invested in her personal evolution that silence doesn't shake you? Second type of woman is the one he will miss because her world does not revolve around him. She is rooted in her own life, and that life has depth, meaning, and joy beyond his presence. That is compelling. That is rare. Emotional intelligence allows you to detach with dignity. Instead of reacting with anger or neediness, you respond with grace and boundaries. When a woman pulls back her energy in a calm, non-dramatic way, she creates space for the man to feel her absence. Not out of manipulation, because she values peace over chaos. And in that space, if there was genuine connection, he will start to miss not just her words, but her energy, her stability, her calmness. Ultimately, it's not your beauty that he misses. It's the emotional atmosphere you created, running the park, the security, the calm, the reflection of his own potential when he was around you. These things don't vanish when you leave, they echo. And the more in control you are of yourself, the more out of control he becomes in his thoughts about you. The park. That is the quiet power of emotional mastery. That is how a woman becomes unforgettable. Living with purpose, rather than seeking attention, is one of the most transformative shifts a woman may can. Not only for herself, but also in how she is perceived and remembered. A purposeful woman is magnetic. She doesn't wait for someone to validate her worth. And she doesn't seek confirmation of her value through the eyes of a man. Instead, she lives aligned with her vision, her growth, and her values. And that is exactly what makes her so deeply missed when she's not around. When a woman lives for attention, her energy becomes scattered. She chases texts, overthinks silence, and begins to define her days by how much or how little someone engages with her. But when she decides to live with purpose, everything shifts. Her time becomes sacred. Her priorities become clear. She no longer gives energy to what doesn't align with her path. And ironically, when she stops chasing attention, it begins to chase her. Purpose creates presence. When you are focused on your own goals, whether they are spiritual, emotional, creative, or professional, you start radiating something rare, direction. You are no longer just existing, you are expanding. Men can feel this shift. The park, they can sense when a woman no longer looks outward for fulfillment, but draws her power from within. And once a man experiences that kind of energy, he notices its absence in a profound way when it's no longer near him. The park. Living with purpose also builds self-respect. You no longer tolerate behavior that distracts you from your growth. You no longer make excuses for inconsistency or settle for partial effort. A woman with direction becomes harder to access, not because she's playing games, but because she's busy building something greater than a temporary connection. And that boundary, silent strength, makes her unforgettable. A man not consciously realize it at first, but as days pass without your presence, and he reflects on the energy you brought, the focus, the clarity, passion for life, he starts to feel a loss, not of just a person, but of a standard. He begins to miss the reflection of himself he saw when he was with you. The better version he wanted to live up to is the effect of the years of being around someone who lives on purpose. Remember, being missed isn't about disappearing. It's about leaving behind the impact of a woman who knows where she's going, who doesn't pause her mission to be liked or chosen. The pack. A woman who knows she has something important to do in this world becomes a powerful force in a man's mind. Not because she begged to be remembered, but because she walked away without needing to be. And in that walk, she carried the kind of grace that lingers long after the footsteps have faded. As that is the essence of living with purpose. And it is impossible to forget. Mystery and boundaries are powerful tools in creating emotional impact, especially when it comes to making a man miss you. In a world where people overshare and constantly seek validation, a woman who maintains a sense of mystery becomes unforgettable. She does not reveal everything about herself in one breath. She leaves space for curiosity, imagination, and reflection. This space is not emptiness. It is intentional silence that invites the other person to wonder, to lean in, and to think deeply. When you have clear personal boundaries, you communicate something profound: self-respect. Boundaries are not walls. They are the edges of your self-worth. They define how others are allowed to interact with your time, energy, and emotions. A woman who maintains boundaries is not being cold or distant. She is simply choosing to protect what is sacred. And when a man realizes he cannot cross certain lines with you, not because you are trying to punish him, because you value yourself, he begins to respect you more. That respect is the foundation of longing. Mystery complements boundaries. It is the art of not overexposing yourself emotionally, mentally, or physically. A mysterious woman does not hide who she is. She allows others to earn access to the deeper layers of her being. She doesn't feel the need to prove her worth through constant updates, emotional oversharing, or endless availability. Instead, she allows her actions, energy, and presence to speak for her. Through the path, this keeps a man engaged and intrigued, because he never feels like he has completely figured her out. When something is easily accessible, often taken for granted. But when something requires time, attention, and effort to truly understand, it becomes valuable. Men are wired to pursue, to discover, to unlock. When you maintain a touch of mystery and reinforce it with strong, graceful boundaries running through the park, you become that challenge, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that reflects your depth and dignity. Mystery also creates emotional space running through the park. When you don't always explain what you're feeling or thinking, it invites him to think about you, to question, to wonder. And that wondering leads to emotional attachment. The mind revisits what it cannot fully grasp. Running through the park, the heart remembers what it didn't fully understand. That is how you become unforgettable. Boundaries ensure that your energy is not spread thin, and mystery ensures that your value is not diluted. Together form a powerful combination. You become someone who is not just seen but remembered, not just talked to but thought about, not just admired but missed. In the end, mystery is not a playing hard to get. It is about knowing your worth and sharing yourself intentionally. And boundaries are not about keeping people out, but about ensuring only the right ones are allowed in. When you master both, running the park, you won't need to ask how to make him miss you. He already will, and he won't even understand why. Consistency without overexposure is a subtle yet powerful principle when it comes to creating emotional impact and making a man miss you. It is about finding the delicate balance between present and being rare. Humans naturally crave what they cannot always have, and that includes attention, presence, and emotional connection. When something is constantly available, it begins to lose its value running through the park. Not because it has changed, but because it is no longer special in the eyes of the receiver. Being consistent means showing up with authenticity and reliability. It means being someone who holds a steady emotional frequency, not someone who is unpredictable or manipulative. Consistency must be paired with intentional absence. If you are constantly texting, calling, reaching out, and being emotionally available, you leave no space for the other person to feel your absence. And without absence, there can be no longing Overexposure dilutes your energy. When a man knows every detail of day, every thought in your mind, and has constant access to your presence, he begins to take it for granted. Even if unintentionally, you remove the mystery, the anticipation, and the emotional space where desire is born. Emotional cravings grow in silence and space, not in constant conversation. To be missed, you must sometimes be gone. Not physically always, but emotionally, energetically. You must know when to pull back, not out of spite, but out of wisdom. Consistency is in how you treat yourself, the park, how you hold your standards, how you carry yourself with grace. It's in the way you don't beg for attention when it's not given. The way you maintain your rhythm regardless of who is watching. A man will begin to miss a woman who remains consistent in her growth and value, park, but does not flood him with her presence. He will begin to wonder what she's doing, who she's becoming in the park, and why he's not a part of it. In that moment, that wondering is where the seed of missing is planted. It's important to understand that absence does not mean withdrawal from connection. It means allowing space for the other person to notice what your presence actually meant. If you are always there, always initiating through the park, always showing up without pause, there's no reason for him to realize what it feels like not to have you around. So you must learn the power of strategic silence, the power of doing your own thing without broadcasting it, power of disappearing, not in bitterness but in calm confidence. Let your presence be a gift, not a given. Let your energy be rare, running through the park, not routine. When a man realizes that your presence was never meant to be consumed carelessly, he will begin to value it more. Run, and when he sees that your life continues with or without his attention, running through the park, he will start to crave the consistency of who you are, without needing to be reminded. Is the power of being consistent without being constantly available. And that is how true longing begins. Energetic withdrawal is one of the most refined and misunderstood ways to make a man miss you. It is not about cutting someone off, giving the silent treatment, or playing emotional games. It is about reclaiming your energy and redirecting it inward, towards your peace, your growth, and your self-awareness. Many people think distance comes only in the form of physical space or lack of words. Real absence is felt most when your energy is no longer being given freely. That is what leaves a man confused, longing, and reflective. There's a difference between emotional distance and energetic withdrawal. Emotional distance often stems from anger, fear, or disappointment. It is reactive and can feel cold or punishing. Energetic withdrawal, on the other hand, is intentional and rooted in self-respect. It says, I am no longer offering my light where it is not honored. When a woman shifts her energy inward, when she stops over-investing in someone who has not matched her efforts, the other person feels the shift, even if no words are spoken. Men often don't realize the value of presence until they feel the contrast of their absence. Not absence in location, but in essence. If you once gave warmth, encouragement, kindness, and emotional connection, and now you are no longer doing so, not out of bitterness, but because you've decided to protect your peace. That energetic shift creates a vacuum, and in vacuum, missing is born. The most powerful thing about energetic withdrawal is that it does not come with confrontation, with the palm. It comes with calm. You simply stop trying so hard. You stop explaining, fixing, or managing the connection. You no longer wait for responses, chase clarity, or seek validation. Instead, you focus on your breath, your routine, your power. You become centered in yourself again. And that shift is magnetic. The key is to let go with grace, not to show him what he lost, but to remember what you gained by returning to yourself. A woman who pulls her energy back and channels it into her growth becomes more radiant, more mysterious, and more grounded. And from a distance, a man will start to feel the absence of her emotional presence like silence after a beautiful song. He may not know why he feels a void. He will remember the way you made him feel. Heard, seen, inspired. Energetic withdrawal does not guarantee he will come running back, but it guarantees you will come back to yourself. And from that place of strength, if he does reach out, it will be not because you demand it, but because he felt the shift and couldn't ignore it. In the end, through the park, what people truly miss is not just someone's presence, but the energy they brought into the space. When that energy is taken back respectfully and without drama, it becomes clear how much it meant. Running through the park, that clarity doesn't come from your words. It comes from your silence and your strength. Growth, glow, and grace are the final and perhaps the most lasting ways to make a man miss you. Not just in the moment, but over time. These three elements form the essence of a woman who becomes unforgettable. When a woman is constantly evolving, emotionally radiant, and carries herself with quiet dignity, she leaves a mark that no one else can replace. She doesn't need to demand space in someone's heart. Her energy naturally occupies it. Growth is the foundation. A woman who is committed to her personal development, mentally, emotionally, through the park, spiritually, is magnetic. She is not stagnant. She is not waiting around for someone to choose her. She is building, expanding, learning. This kind of woman challenges a man without even trying. She forces him to reflect, not because she points out his flaws, but because her presence a mirror to his own untapped potential. When she is gone, what he misses most is not just her company, but the version of himself he saw reflected in her light. Then comes the glow. This is not about physical beauty, although it often shines through. It's the radiance that comes from inner peace, purpose, and joy. When a woman is happy in her own skin, at home in her solitude, and proud of her path, she glows. She becomes someone whose presence uplifts and energizes others. That glow doesn't beg for attention. It naturally draws it. And when she's no longer around, that brightness feels like the sun disappearing behind a cloud. The warmth is gone and the absence is undeniable. And finally, grace. Grace is the quiet power that holds everything together. It's how a woman handles rejection, distance, silence, or disrespect. Not with bitterness or vengeance, but with poise and detachment. Grace is knowing when to stay silent, when to walk away, and when to let someone feel the consequences of their actions without needing to prove anything. A graceful woman does not argue for her worth. She knows it, and she moves with a calm certainty that lingers in the hearts of others long after she has left. These three qualities, growth, glow, and grace, work together to build a legacy. You're not just someone he dated, talked to, or spent time with. You become a memory, a lesson, turning point, and often the realization of what he lost doesn't come instantly. It comes in quiet moments, months later, when he meets someone else and doesn't feel the same depth, the same light, the same calm strength. You don't make a man miss you by shrinking yourself or seeking his attention. You make him miss you by becoming so whole, so self-fulfilled, and so radiant that your presence becomes a standard he can't forget. He may try to move on, but a woman who lives with growth running through the park, glows from within, and walks in grace is not someone easily replaced. She becomes the one who changed the room just by being in it, and the one who is missed long after the door has closed.